obviously before I knew about the story, and don't get me wrong, I know the football manager stuff got a bit annoying towards the end and it almost become too much. But I remember sitting there and like me and my brother were both like, I must have been 18 at the time, or like 19. And I remember going, so I can do that. That is exactly what I want to do. And yeah, the fact that you've done it, and obviously like full circle moment, I'm here interviewing you now 4 years after, it's absolutely mental. So
it's still possible, right? The players go to the board and say, Will's got to stay. I almost felt like a foreigner walking into that environment. Even now, it makes no sense. That shouldn't have happened. It's like this really heavy, and I remember us all looking at each other and going, couldn't watch it.
Yeah.
Hated it. Absolutely hated it. Didn't want to watch it. Didn't want to talk about it. Just leave me alone.
It's really hard, obviously, to touch on. It's like Southampton where you just don't get the time.
I made mistakes. I'll hold my hands up every day to that.
Without further ado, welcome to the Overlap Breakdown. It's a pleasure to have you on. One of the most, as we've just spoken about, one of the most unique journeys I've ever seen in sort of football, modern football. At one point, you were the youngest manager in Europe's top 5 divisions at 30 years old. And we are now going to speak about your career from back to front. And yeah, it's absolutely amazing what you've done. I would like to touch on, so we did Steve McLaren a couple of weeks ago, and I'd love to start it in a similar way. And I think I said something about Steve McLaren, and it's even more apparent to you considering you got it so early. If I could ask you, why coaching?
Because it was the closest thing to being a footballer.
Mm.
And it allowed me to work within the professional game of football. But I'll be honest, the first kind of ambition wasn't to be a coach or a manager or whatever. All through my kind of youth, up until I was about 16, 17, I was like, I'm going to be a professional footballer. One day I'll make it a professional footballer. And then, when you're about 16, 17, kind of reality kicks in. Maybe that's going to be tricky. And when I was in my last year of school in Belgium, I had that uncomfortable conversation of, what's next? What am I going to do? My mum was kind of very sort of scholar and disciplined. It was like, you need to find yourself a proper job and go down that university course and whatever. And I was like, God, just
Can't bother.
Can't be asked. It's not for me. And I actually started physiotherapy, but I gave up after like 3 months because I just never went to lessons. It just didn't bother me that much.
Yeah.
And I sat down with my dad, and it was like, surely someone somewhere must teach, football. There must be a football course.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, kind of end of the spectrum you go to, there must be something there. And Google is all our friends, and it helped me to find Myerscough College.
Yeah.
And Myerscough just kind of opened my eyes up to what was possible, to do within the world of football. And video analysis was a part of that. And I'd kind of seen, not a hole in the market, but Belgium wasn't kind of developed in the same way that English football was at that stage. It was like, okay, I'm going to take this, go back to Belgium. I'll knock on any club's door, and they'll let me in.
Yeah,
got that wrong because obviously it wasn't that easy. And just thought, video analysis is kind of the way in, is the kind of door that will open at some point. Luckily, it did, and kind of went from there. And then it's that pathway from going from video analyst to an assistant coach, to a coach, that was made easy by the people that I was working with, because I had a kind of knowledge of football like everyone does, but the coaches that I worked with really kind of like set me up. I'd take a rondo, I'd take a passing drill, and slowly but surely I was on the pitch, kind of speaking the same language, speaking the same, using the same terms in a footballing way. And once I got out on the pitch and was doing these kind of things, I was like, actually, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to go. I'd coached kids when I was kind of 15, 16. Enjoyed it, but it's completely different.
Yeah.
And then, that coaching element and side to it was just like, yeah, actually, that's what I really want to do.
Yeah.
Went from there.
Did that help you, like, being so young? Because I think if you're younger, especially when you go from, so that's the exact thing that we were just speaking about before. Like, I was in video analysis, but I couldn't do the jump on the grass, and especially like with being young and like talking to players and stuff, I could never get that balance. And I don't know, like, that was still so hard to me at such a young age. But do you think you almost benefited off being a little bit younger?
100%.
Yeah.
100%, because I was kind of relatable to the players. I could, you know, I was living in the same world that they were living in. I was, you know, back at that stage, I was 21, 22. So I was kind of all of their ages. So I knew, you know, socially what they were up to, what kind of music they were listening to, what was going on in their world. And to be honest, I was just a video analyst, so I was kind of part of them.
Yeah, in and about them anyway. Yeah.
And it definitely helped.
Yeah.
100%.
And then obviously you went on to do pretty amazing stuff at Belgium. You know, you become the youngest Belgian coach at 24, I believe, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Obviously in 2014 and in 2015, the club clinched promotion to the Belgian First Division. And yeah, and then obviously you went to Standard Liège. There's a lot of jobs here in Belgium. How would you describe, you were talking there before about the Belgium sort of ecosystem in football. What was there much difference? English, so obviously you're at Preston. Was there much?
Completely different.
Completely?
It's the same sport, obviously. But
can't handball it, play with TV.
It's the cultural element of it.
Yeah.
Belgian culture is completely different to English culture, and I've learnt that over the past sort of 6 months, because I had a cultural shock when I came to college, because Preston is like, everyone thinks I'm English, but I was born in Belgium, raised in Belgium, went to school in French, played most of my life playing football in Dutch. So I wasn't, you know, I didn't understand banter. I didn't get the English, sort of basic culture. Obviously, my parents are English, and I'd got some family here, but it's not the same thing. And the kind of cultural differences that you see in an everyday life, you also see in a football club. And Belgium is unique. It's such a small country that it's unique. The way the competition works is also
incredibly unique
and probably a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it was good, because it was something that I was comfortable in. I obviously knew the languages, knew the people, knew what it took to kind of work. But I also got incredibly lucky. Like, I should never ever have been a head coach at 24. But
that's absolutely insane.
No, it's mad. Yeah.
Like, I'm 24 now. Yeah. And I was saying to the producer over there, I was like, I could not imagine doing that at my age now.
But and it's, it was a second division club in Belgium, who, albeit had got a few financial difficulties, but sat next to me was Nicky van Kerkhoven, who's like played over 50 games for Belgium. Patrick Nice has played over like 500 games in Belgium's first division. And I'm sat there thinking, why has the owner turned to me? What's this all about?
What am I going to do?
Do
you get a bit of imposter syndrome?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what am I doing here?
Yeah. But I was kind of dead honest about it with the players. I sat down and was like, right, I've been asked to do this. You don't have to agree with it. All I want to do is win a few games. But I need you to win a few games because for the moment, we're pretty rubbish. We were bottom of the league. We're pretty rubbish. It's through no one's fault. It's just a kind of, circumstances are what they are. But we need to get out of it. And we need to win a few games. And I don't know why. The players just kind of bought into it, and we went on I drew my first game. I didn't sleep the night before because I was petrified that we were going to get battered 10-0, and that I'd be the laughing stock of. We drew the first game at home 1-1, lost the second game 3-2, and then after that, those first two games, we went on we won 7 on the trot, and then didn't lose for another 3. But you know, I sit here now talking about it, and I don't like brag. I'm not bragging about it, but it's like, even now it makes no sense. That should have happened.
Yeah,
because I was doing such like simple, basic things with these players, and I got lucky with a few of the games. You know, we're on a knife edge, and the ball hits the post and goes in, and you know,
they miss a sitter, momentum goals,
etc., etc. And that's just the way football works. And I've now been on the other end of the scale where you try everything and nothing's working. And you hit the post, you hit the other post, you hit the crossbar, your striker slips, he puts it wide, and you kind of think.
I was gonna talk to you, so I was speaking to a lot of people, and it always feels like when your teams always have a mad variance in terms of the expected points, so the chances you're creating, and the actual points. And I've really wanted, this was probably planned for later, but given what you just said there, I think like, are you always aware of that? You know, when you're in there and you go, the balance has got to come soon. Do you know what I mean? Does it tick you off a little bit?
Oh, it winds me up. It proper winds me up. But it winds me up in a way that I can't actually control it. Like you can do so much work, and you can prepare, you know, so many things. But in Lens, for example, last season, we were kind of top 3 for, you know, XG created, top 3 for number of chances created, number of, you know, entries in the opposition box. So all the stats kind of were adding up to me kind of thinking, you know, we'll be all right. It will work. At some point it's going to, you know, it will work. And it did eventually. Because at Christmas, I think we were 4th or 5th in the league. We were kind of starting to grow into the team that I wanted it to be. And Ligue 1 is a difficult competition. Like every other week you play against some massive club, whether that be, you know, Marseille, PSG, Monaco. And I think the start of this season with Southampton, you know, people look at it now and look back on it and say, oh, well, Will, you know, you were 21st in the league and you weren't getting a tune out of the team and this and that. And I was like, I know, I know what it looks like. You know, but there was so much that we were trying to change and that needed changing as well. That we needed that little bit of luck, that you know, that for that ball to roll in and not hit the post and go wide, or for the keeper to pull off an absolute, you know, worldie. I think the game where it struck me the most was home to Swansea. I think we had an XG of like over 3.
Oh yeah, I think I remember this game.
And we drew 0-0.
Yeah. I was going
And it was like, we hit the post, hit the other post, slipped, missed from 3 yards out. And I was like...
It's almost like it's catching up with you when you said you were lucky in Belgium. No, it's going the other way against you.
And it's like... And it was the most frustrating time of my career, obviously. Because, you know, ultimately, however many games later, you are fired. And you kind of think... But people always come up to you after and say, oh, but Will, don't worry, you know, you should have been 3rd in the table.
But you weren't, and that's what annoys you. Yeah.
I was 21st. And that's what football is, that's what football does to you. And it can be like ridiculously cruel, but on the other hand it can be unbelievable.
Look out, yeah. I think, I wanted to sort of rewind and definitely go back to when you first went to Ligue 1 and you took over as caretaker manager, and that was one of the most, even from like the outside looking in, as when I showed you that video, obviously 2 draws against PSG, went unbeaten in I think the first 17 games. And you had the longest unbeaten run in Ligue 1 that season, and you took over. So what was that like? Obviously there was a lot more noise than it, but the pressure in Ligue 1, and you finished really well that season. The pressure in Ligue 1 when you go in there, and I remember looking at some of the teams, the managers, the players that were knocking about there. Was that almost like, well, how did you take that jump to the next? You're in Europe's top 5 leagues, basically. Do you know what I mean? On the.
I think the main advantage that I had was that I'd been in Ligue 1 for more or less a year. I'd been assistant, so I knew the teams, I knew our own squad, I kind of understood the club now and where it was going. And it was a similar situation to what I'd known in Belgium, where it was the year when Ligue 1 went from 20 teams to 18 teams. So there were going to be 3 or 4 relegated teams. So there was a lot of pressure on teams at the bottom to kind of get it right. And I just remember the start of the season being tricky because we weren't getting the results that we needed. And, you know, besides that, Oscar Garcia, who was the head coach, had got his daughter was basically dying. I mean, as sad as that is to say, it was horrible. So he wasn't there very often. So I was already doing a lot.
Okay, yeah.
And then the club, you know, decided to sack him, rightly or wrongly. I'm not going to judge on that. And they turned to me and said, "Well, we've got 5 games left before the World Cup," which was in Qatar that year. There's no plan, there's no pressure, there's no, you know, we don't know where we're going with it yet because we weren't expecting to sack Oscar. Just try and pick as many points up as you can, and we'll see what happens. So I'm like, okay,
I'll give it a go.
Cool, I'll give it a go. Our first game is away to Lorient, I think.
Yeah.
Terrible game. Bad, just poor. We get a draw out of it. But in those 5 games, I think we won 3 and drew 2. So didn't lose.
Yeah.
And we'd kind of just managed to create an environment where people actually wanted to be and wanted to come to the club and wanted to train and wanted to, you know, pick up points for themselves, but also for the team and kind of get out of the, not mess, but sticky situation that we were in. And, you know, the World Cup comes, the players go to the board and say, Will's got to stay. So.
Oh, really? Oh, that's brilliant.
That's what kind of gave me the confidence to kind of take it on full time and really have a go at it. So the board come down to me and say, you know, we're delighted, we're unbeaten in 5, just keep going. And I'm like, fine, great. I haven't got a pro license though. I got my A license, so the UEFA A.
Yeah.
Because that's all you can. That's the highest kind of diploma you can get. But to get on the pro license course, you've got to shift a few mountains before you get there.
I was speaking to you about this, yeah.
And it's difficult to get on it. I got refused by the French Federation on their course, so I had to go back to Belgium and do that. But yeah, every week you're playing against PSG at that time. We've got Messi, Neymar, Mbappé, Verratti in midfields, you know, Sergio Ramos playing. And you're kind of playing against top opposition teams every other week.
Yeah.
But absolutely loved it. It was just
dream.
Yeah, it literally. It was like being in a dreamland. And people kind of think, oh, you know, he absolutely loved the press and the media and the attention that he got.
No.
I wasn't bothered.
You love doing the job.
Yeah, but I wasn't bothered about the rest. And it's this kind of perception from the outside world that you kind of think, half that story's not true.
No, I know. And I was going to ask you obviously about it all. I always found more than the video game stuff, I always found the best thing about your story. Because I always go like, I can't imagine you in that board and the players have gone up and gone, we need to get him in. And you've gone, yeah, but I'm going to get fined here. Like, how does that even, do they just go, yeah, we're willing to take that risk?
To be fair to Reims, and you know, I'll forever be grateful for that opportunity. They just said, it's fine. It's as if we'd taken on another player in January.
Yeah.
We'll pay it. You know, we can't give you more salary, obviously, because we're paying all of this. But it doesn't matter. You know, we want the football club to survive in Ligue 1. We want you to, you know, keep going. We'll pay it. Not a problem. So until the end of that first season, when I took over, there must have been about 25 or 26 games left.
Yeah.
They just paid it. And, you know, everyone
Talk about a vote of confidence.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And everyone kept reminding me of it, and it was like, yeah, I know. I'm just trying to do my best.
But I'm not losing.
But I wasn't bragging about it. It was just, I just try my best.
Yeah.
And luckily, it works out.
Because you've done it so young, have you actually had time to build a philosophy of what you want to do? Or is it simply you just get given a group of players and you go, what are these good at that I can mould them into? Do you know what I mean?
It's a mix of both, like, because throughout the kind of 7 to 8 years that I was analyst, assistant coach, I worked with a lot of coaches, or was lucky enough to work with a lot of coaches, seen almost polar opposites in terms of philosophy and styles. So I'd got a feeling for what I liked and what I enjoyed seeing, because I always do that as a supporter. What would a supporter want to see? What does he want his team to do? What does he want his, what would I like if I went to the stadium as just a fan? So I kind of, got more or less a clear picture of what I want to do, but also you don't just walk into a team and say, right, we're doing this, this, and this. If you don't do this, then you're out. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you kind of module stuff and make it work with the players that you've got. And I think the best example of that is, again, last year in Lens, where I'm following a coach that's been there for 7 years, that's got the team up from Ligue 2, that's played Champions League, that's done an unbelievable job, but that's built a squad in a 3-4-3.
Yeah.
And 3-4-3 isn't a system that I particularly like. It's not what I'd go to if I really had the choice. But I wasn't going to go into a massive club like Lens and just say, right, forget all of that.
4-4-2.
We're doing this.
Yeah,
it's like, nah.
No. Because I've obviously got here Oscar Garcia. He's managed in 8 different countries, worked under Johan Cruyff. So his sort of philosophy must have been so different from obviously stuff you've picked up in Belgium.
Oh, totally different. But also I had this, before knowing him and working with him, I had this kind of fake or false impression that it would be a 4-3-3. It would be a very possession-based kind of football. Wasn't at all.
No.
Ended up playing a 5-3-2, pretty low block, and working on possession football, but in a completely different way than what I'd imagined. But again, it was just an extra kind of piece of information that I had and that I could fall back on at times.
When you say it's a completely different imagination of the possession football, what do you mean? Is it like they're going long and then they're recouping and then they're playing, or do you mean there's different from the keeper?
The setup first,
yeah,
because I'd never have imagined, a Spanish coach to play a 3-5-2.
Yeah,
and it wasn't a 3-5-2; it was a 5-3-2.
Oh, so the wing backs are much lower. Yeah,
proper defenders.
Yeah,
and it was, it was how he broke it down. It was, okay, from keeper, we have option 1, 2, and 3. Okay. First sort of phase of build up, we've got option 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Middle section of the pitch, the patterns are 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Final third, same thing. So we'd always got 3 options or 3 different kind of creative animations that happened. But we'd train it, for example, the day before the game, and training the day before the game would last an hour and 45 minutes, which I was unheard of to me. Yeah. Because I'd always been said, day before the training, you make it short, sharp, and go to the point. And this was like a proper session. And we'd go from the keeper, option 1, 2, 3. And if anyone messed the pass up, or if anyone didn't make the run that he needed to make, we started again. So it was like, wow.
That seems proper like Italian coded to me, that though. Having like pretty textbook.
Yeah,
this
very.
Is what you do.
But, and we'd look at it on the video so that the players could kind of see it. He'd explain it on tactic board, do it on the pitch. And we'd kind of break it down like that. But fascinating, because I'd never seen it done. It was something completely new to me, and I was like, okay, different.
Yeah.
And it was just, another thing that I kind of added to my
You were saying before, you always think of what would you want to watch as a fan. What would you want to watch as a fan? If your team's playing, what are the things?
A forward-thinking team, and I know everyone says, "Oh, I want my team to be really offensive." I don't want to watch a team that keeps possession to keep possession. Like, and I know this is maybe controversial, but as brilliant as Barcelona were in that period of kind of ultimate tiki-taka where they beat everyone, it was great because they'd got technically such gifted players that it was like, well, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
But I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy watching it.
And you've seen what it looks like when it's not got them players in it.
No, exactly.
And it's a lot
It's terrible.
worse.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And everyone tried to kind of do it, and it was like, those players can't do it.
Yeah.
And no, I want runs. I want how are we going to get the ball from our keeper basically into the opposition goal as quickly as possible, but as cleanly as possible. I don't want to lump it because I don't want to become like Route 1 football, play off second balls. So how are we going to overload space to give us the opportunity to play forward, and what run is going to allow us to either open space or play forward? So it's all about vertical football. It's all about, what players can we find in what positions, and how we overloaded the opposition to be able to find that free player, to then play in behind them and make that run or situation happen. And also, if we've lost the ball, this is going to sound really basic, charge. Yeah. Like, just charge. Like, react.
Does that mean your idea of football? I've always said this for a long time. I'm a Manchester United fan. I'm
sorry about
that. I prefer the Jurgen Klopp style when it's at its best, and the Pep Guardiola style when it's at its best.
Yeah, 100%.
Because do you agree with that?
100%.
Because I think as a fan, if I'm in the stands, I'm cheering on every vertical pass, every deep run, every second ball win. I'm not cheering a pass that goes backwards to the keeper to reset. I'm not cheering that. So for me, I always love...
But it doesn't get you excited either.
No.
You don't kind of go, something's going to happen.
And don't get me wrong, possession football, like you were saying it before, there is a need for it, obviously, and it to be done cleanly and stuff like that. I don't like the idea, especially in more modern times where it's become... Yeah, like you said, it's more of a defensive tactic than it is an attacking tactic now. It's more to, if we've got the ball up the other end and we're on the edge of the box, they can't score. Yeah. That's more, for me, what a lot of teams are thinking now with their possession. And I think that's obviously somehow maybe Guardiola thinks about it like that. But yeah, I always appreciated like the more direct, without saying like, oh, charge it. Do you know what I mean? Without putting like it really old school connotations towards it.
Yeah, I had a great conversation with Adam Lallana.
Yeah,
he was assistant in Southampton, and we were just talking about the different styles that he'd been through. Had De Zerbi at Brighton, and I spoke a lot about Klopp at Liverpool just because it was something that I could identify myself to, and that I really thought, that looks like a team that I want to, I'd want to support. I'd want to be part of. And he said it was the best time of his life. And he was scared when Klopp came in because he was kind of a very technical player, available between the lines, wasn't the physically kind of the biggest.
Yeah, I get what you mean, yeah.
But he said, I just, as soon as he came in, I made this click in my head, and it was like, this is the way that we have to play.
How much of a West Ham fan are you? Because I know you are a West Ham fan, but are you a proper West Ham fan?
The thing that I learned working in football, you're not really a fan of anyone anymore.
Yeah.
Like I love West Ham because I grew up watching West Ham, and I went to, Upton Park with my dad and my brothers, and it was just part of what we did, and it was special because obviously we lived in Belgium, so we knew that if we were going to London, it was like, oh, we're going to watch West Ham.
Yeah, big day out.
Yeah, and it was back in the day we were watching Paolo Di Canio, Frederic Canute, Joe Cole, the kind of last stages of Lampard at West Ham. So it was like, they were massive.
Surreal.
And to me, it was like, I'm watching Joe Cole, I'm watching Paolo Di Canio.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, like, what type of football do you think that club is? Someone's got like a bit of a DNA.
Yeah.
Because if I assess Man United, it's always thrown about United DNA, and it's become like almost a laughing stock of a phrase.
Yeah.
But I do think in my head that there is a lot of things I could put towards it quite simply.
Yeah, I think it saddens me a lot with West Ham is that the club has kind of lost its soul almost and DNA of what West Ham used to be because of the stadium, because of the number of managers that we've had over the years and the number of changes that have constantly gone on. But I think West Ham, and everyone says you've got to play the West Ham way. But then Sam Allardyce comes into the club when we're in the champ, and so I think a report of one of the questions in the first press conference is, "Are you going to play the West Ham way?" And he looks at down the camera and says, "Well, what's the West Ham way? Getting relegated." That's like fair point.
It's a very good point.
And he said the West Ham way has got to be just winning games, and you got us back up.
Yeah,
beat Blackpool in playoff final, and Ricardo Vazquez scored a 90th minute winner, and you're kind of thinking, this is West Ham. And it was completely different, but it was still something that you could identify yourself to as a supporter. But today, am I a massive West Ham fan? I'll always have that place for West Ham inside me, but you're so busy with your job and other teams that it's like you can't really be a fan anymore.
Because I've had so many arguments, because I think people always say to me, I always go like, people have said to me, United's DNA is just winning. And it's like, doesn't matter how we won. Under Fergie, we played multiple different things. We just won. And people go, that is your DNA. And I go, yeah, that is true. But I think in some respects, the fans are more likely to get behind something if it's just edged that little bit closer to what they're used to. And I think that's why United have obviously struggled so much trying to build something.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm not talking about United. I'm leaving for another day. Going back to France and doing that, obviously, 2 games against PSG, unbeaten in both. How?
We had to adapt what we were doing, because you can't go away to Parc des Princes and say, I'm going to press the life out of them and do this. We did want to press, and we did press, and we did it really well. But it's almost by giving the players enough belief that, tell you what, this is actually possible, and we're going to have a go. We have to be careful of this, and this. I think we all know that. And there's that kind of tactical and technical level that you have to get right, but you need to keep it pretty accessible and basic for the players. So in my head, I've got a million lines and shapes and whatever going on, but it's like, okay, how am I best going to translate that to the player so that he understands exactly what he needs to do and when? So we got that sorted, and then it's the other side of it. It's like, we've got to believe that we can actually do this.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to go away to PSG and play like a bunch of sheep and just kind of accept whatever's going to happen to us. We've got good players too. PSG was just a football team, and they've got Messi and Neymar and whatever playing up top, but they are just a football team. And we also knew that once we've skipped that first line of press, it's basically a 10 against 7 because those 3 aren't going to defend.
Yeah.
So it was like, step by step, kind of getting the players into a space where they were like, I'll tell you what, we can do this actually, and it is possible.
Was that one of the plans? Was that one of the plans when you were thinking against PSG? If we just bypass that front 3, we can actually just run directly at the goal. The fullbacks will go in untracked. Yeah,
I mean, obviously you've got 7 other players that are like world class level.
Yeah.
But we did know that the second phase of our build up or possession play, we would always have a spare man or an extra man. So it's like, okay, we've got to be technically immaculate, but if we find these spaces, we are going to hurt them. And the worst thing is, you prepare all these things, we concede a really not poor goal, but unlucky goal almost. And we equalise on one of their mistakes. So 93rd minute or 4th minute, they play long, which was unheard of.
Bizarre, yeah.
They don't play long. we lose the first challenge, pick up the second ball, and our initial reaction is we pick up a second ball. Our automatic reaction is to play forward, because you need to use the disorganisation of the opposition team to play forward. So Kamari Doumbia plays the ball through centre halves, ballows through on goal, and then time just kind of stopped.
Yeah.
It was
no
like
noise.
And you could see him running through, and I'm like, go on, Ballo, mate, go on.
Yeah.
And
I've seen you do it a million times, kind of thing.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But again, it's and from that you build more belief and more confidence, because, well, we can actually do it, and we have done it, and we're going to do it again.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like, I just can't imagine like standing there and just having to go up against them, and then not only going up against them and drawing and being competitive in the game.
Yeah, mental, absolutely mental.
Yeah, was the dressing room all right after? Would you have got to a point then where it was like, no, like we should be doing stuff like that. Yeah.
And there was a sense of kind of pride about what we'd done, but it was also like, well, this is what we do now, and this is the direction that we want to go in. So there was also a calm understanding of what's next.
Yeah.
Which was, to me, really positive, because I knew that the team was kind of in a phase where they knew where we were going.
Yeah. And I guess a 17-game unbeaten run really helps that.
Definitely.
How good was that group of players to work with? Because I remember watching, I think Amazon did a video with you, and you did like a mic'd up training session.
Yeah.
And you had a really good sort of bouncing off the lads, each other, cracking jokes. Was that just almost like a bit of a surreal feeling at that point, where it was just like, we're in such a good position? I can imagine relegation, or the chances of even being anywhere near that, had been swept aside quite early.
Yeah.
So you were almost going there, and now you've got the element of bit of freedom, bit of weight off the chest.
Yeah. So by the time we got to the World Cup break, we kind of knew that we'd be all right. We had a really positive break. So we gave 2 weeks off, and then built it up. We went away to Spain for like a warm weather thing in December, and just kind of built it up. And I knew that by the time we started the competition again, it was like, we're on it, we're at it, we're in a place that we want to be at. But also, I never really thought about it.
What? The relegation or
any of it?
Any of it.
You never really, and I know this. People will say, "Oh, of course you do." You don't really think about the unbeaten games, because it's just the next game and then the next game, and then it's when it ended. We got beat by Marseille at home.
Yeah,
I think Sanchez scored a hat trick. Well, he scored two at least. And after that game, I sat down. I was gutted, because I hate losing. I'm really not very good at losing. And I sat down after that, and and my dad was at the game, and he walked in the dressing room and said, "You right?" I was like, "No, whatever. I don't really want to talk about it."
Yeah.
And he goes off home back to Belgium and says, "Just think about what you've done." And I was like, "It doesn't really matter though, Dad. We've lost." He said, "Just I'll give a day off the next day." I actually gave 2 days off, because we were only playing like a week later or 7 days later. And in those 2 days, you kind of sit back and think, actually, that was unreal.
Yeah.
But I want to do it again. I want to make it happen again.
Yeah.
And it is unbelievable when you look at it back. But when you're in it, you're just giving training sessions, and I was incredibly demanding with the players, because we kind of knew that our level of performance had to stay high. So it's like we can have a laugh and we can have a joke, but we always know where we're going and what we're doing.
Well, in that mic'd up training session, you are pretty harsh with them as well. When you stop the drill, you get all the lads around in the middle of the pitch. You are like,
yeah. But they also, it's not. And people say, "Oh, he's just putting on a show." It's like, I'm not putting on a show. Like, I'm not thinking about putting on a show. It's like, these players are going to react to this in this way. And again, do the same thing in another team. It's completely different. So the language that I used, or the way I behaved at Reims, was not the same as I was in Lens. and wasn't the same as I was in Southampton, because you have to take into consideration the players that you've got, the people that they actually are. And yeah, I was incredibly lucky that in Reims, those 2 seasons that we had, those players were just driven and at it, and a lot of them have gone on to do really good things.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to just expand on that time, and I think we spoke about like you've gone in as a caretaker, and it's a little bit more like small messaging, key information. How do you then build layers onto like your philosophy? So if you've gone to the summer, you're going into the second season, what are the key things that you're thinking about in terms of developing, upping the level? We want to go one better than last season.
Yeah.
What are the couple of things that you think you need to coach into a team to bridge that sort of gap?
I'm going to sound like a coach that's just been sacked, but time.
Yeah.
Because I had time. We had a month during the World Cup where we were obviously kind of building on what we'd done, but we were also adding layers to what I really wanted the team to do.
Yeah.
And we had a full month it was almost pre-season, but we'd already had, all the experience that I had before. So I knew the group off by heart. I knew, what was going to work, what wasn't going to work. And we were just kind of, adding layers to what we'd already kind of done. But it takes time.
Yeah.
And the advantage that I had was that the group of players was really well balanced. So, credit to the board for that. We'd got the right number of players, we'd got the right quality in the right positions, and it was a really kind of calm environment. There was no panic of what had gone on, what hasn't gone on. It was just calm. It was like, okay, this is what we're doing, this is where we're going, and this is how it's going to work. And then same thing in the summer after that. So we finish 10th or 11th, slap bang in the middle of Liga. And then, the conversation is, how are we going to improve? And we improved by making 3 really, really good transfers. And recruitment is always become such a...
It's bigger than tactics, isn't it?
It's almost,
Yeah.
And, we brought in 3 players that I knew were going to make a difference immediately. So we've got Nakamura, Modarami, and Ekitike, who was a striker, because we'd lost Balogun, who'd gone to Monaco. And we kind of just kept building and kept adding blocks and blocks and blocks. Had another pre-season, changed the staff a bit. My younger brother came in, and we'd kind of got a platform that we knew we were going to be good at, and then we just kept adding and adding. But again, the environment was so sort of key to that. There was enough time, there was enough calm and structure to allow us to kind of do that in a positive way.
Yeah. What did you make of Ekitike when he first joined?
He'd come back from loan. He'd been in Denmark somewhere, and he came back from loan, and I was still assistant, and it was like, he's good. There's something there, but he was 4th choice because we'd got 3 other strikers that were, we've got Bouledia, El Bilal Touré, and Kai Siros, that was a Dutch player. We've got 3, kind of established professional players. And Hugo came in, and I think in his 1st or 2nd pre-season friendly, he scored a hat-trick. And one of the things that will always stand out in my head, he celebrated it. Like, proper celebrated.
Oh, in a friendly, though.
Yeah. And there's just kind of this code that...
You just shrug it off.
Just get on with it.
Yeah.
No, he celebrated it. And I was like, he's got a bit about him.
You like that?
There's something there.
Yeah.
Young, highly motivated, highly talented. And he was driven to, he was going places.
Yeah.
He was different. He was a character.
Yeah.
Like, got a bit about him.
He's got the fashion sense. And he's very,
Oh, he'd turn up in the most ridiculous clothes. But no, kind of, and from that pre-season onwards, it was like, okay, maybe we don't loan him back out. Maybe we keep him. And he didn't start the season as a starting player, but I think after 2 or 3 games, he was like in the lineup, and it was like, and he ended up scoring 10 plus goals.
Yeah.
I can't remember how many exactly, but and you kind of knew that there was something about him.
Yeah. I always loved them sort of players, them like long-legged, lean, very, very nippy, can do a little bit of everything in front of the goal. And
But technically, he was so clean.
Yeah.
Like he's got one little dummy that he still makes.
Yeah.
And you kind of think, his first touch was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's just those little things that you kind of build up that have made him what he is today.
And now we're going to move on to Lens, and again, a massive opportunity, a massive club with a very, very big fan base. And yeah, this was one for me when I was watching at the time. I remember just a sheer amount of different shapes that were being used and sort of the amount of adapting that was coming through. I remember you playing 4-2-3-1 and then a 5-back and then a 3-back. Was you looking for the balance, or was you simply just adapting from game to game? How did you go about going to a club that, respectfully, was obviously the step up?
So the first 3 months didn't touch it. We just said, okay, we'll play a 3-4-3. I slightly tweaked the 3-4-3, so it became a 3-2-1-2.
Yeah.
With a 10, because we'd got 3 profiles of number 10s in our squad that were, really good. And the kind of wide players that were in the squad were aging. So I thought, if we use those as kind of 2 strikers, a bit like Liverpool used to do with like a false 9 dropping in and then 2 strikers,
like narrow,
kind of half inside there.
Yeah.
So we tweaked that a bit, played that for 3 or 4 months. We're doing fine. And then Kev Danso came back from heart surgery issues that he'd had. He was supposed to leave to Roma, never left. We'd bought in Malang Sarr from Chelsea.
Yeah.
So we'd got a massive squad of players. But also we'd started playing Khusanov.
Yeah.
That's now at City. And he was an absolute machine.
I have a question about him because I think he's
unbelievable.
Mustard.
But the same thing kind of happens. We walk into the club in June and they kind of say, we've got Kodir, he's been here for a season, he's not fully convinced us, so we might, there's an option to loan him out. We might just give him a bit of game time, because the club had signed him for like peanuts, 200,000 euros, I think. So there's an option there. He's going to the Olympics, so he'll miss quite a chunk of pre-season. Just take a look at him. I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. He comes back from the Olympics, and I'm not saying this because he's now playing at City or whatever. We did a passing drill in the first warm-up that he was back, and good players, when they pass the ball or hit the ball, it makes a different sound.
Yeah.
It's like this really heavy,
like valve hit. Yeah.
And I remember watching Kodir in this, or Khusanov, or whatever you want to call him, in this passing drill, and thinking, and my brothers were there with me, and I remember us all looking at each other and going,
but not trying to let him know that he's
no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. And so from that moment on, I was like, okay, we've got a player here.
Yeah.
Kev comes back from injury, and the first game we play a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 away to Reims. So back to my old club. But we'd got Kev Danso and Kodir, who were rapid, who were physically, strong, who were decent on the ball. And it was like, okay, the balance of the team right now needs us to shift towards that. And it will annoy Reims as well, because they have no idea we're going to do it.
Yeah.
We beat Reims 2-0, 3-0, I can't remember. 2-0, I think. Works well. We play a few games, in that 4-2-3-1. We get to the transfer window in January, and the board says to me, Will, we've got to sell.
Yeah.
We've got to sell a lot of players because the TV rights haven't come in. We've lost a lot of money with Champions League, etc., etc. So whatever happens, what happens. But we sell Khusanov to City. We sell Kev to Tottenham. We sell Frankowski to Galatasaray. We sell Brice Samba to Rennes, and we lose like 5 or 6 kind of key players. And it was like, okay, well, we've got a different squad again. Everything's changed. So how do we readapt and get this team winning again? And I remember we lost 4 games on the trot after the transfer window. We lost some games, deservedly. The last game probably undeservedly, but whatever. You lose the games, and it's like, okay, we've got to change it again because we've got to win. And we go away to Marseille, beat Marseille 1-0, and then you're kind of back in a flow of, okay, this is going to work. We can make this work. But I had to adapt because the squad of players was the way it was. And I always think my job is to get the best out of the players that we've got.
Yeah.
And we made it work. We got, and they kind of said to me when I walked in, right, this is going to be a transition season because we've just lost Franquez, who's gone to Nice, the coach.
Lois Opendo left, didn't he? The season before.
And we let Elie Wahi left to
Frankfurt,
or to Marseille, sorry, before he went to Frankfurt. So we there was like a big shift.
Yeah. And
they'd basically said, top half, we'd be fine with that. We'll see where we can get to, but there is going to be a shift. Okay, cool, fine. So transition season, we pick up more points than they'd got the year before.
Yeah.
End of the season, I was quite happy with. It wasn't perfect, I know that.
Yeah.
But circumstances, etc., you kind of think we've done all right. And yeah, Lens was amazing club. The supporters are unbelievable. The stadium's unique. Great club. And it's just, things off the pitch happened that I had no control over whatsoever. And then I'd kind of decided that, I needed to step away from it just to be closer to home and closer to family and my wife.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And then, 3 days later, Southampton were there and were offering something that I thought at the time was really good.
Yeah.
And the last chapter was a lot shorter than I'd hoped it would be, but I just felt, on a human kind of level and perspective, that's what I needed to do.
Yeah.
So I did it.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, who was one of the teams? Was there ever like a team or a player over the years that you've managed in France where it was like, he's got my number? Whether it's a player or when you're coaching up against someone, I was going to say De Zerbi, because I think playing against a De Zerbi team's almost hurts your head, obviously, because there's that many automatisms in there. It's like, how do you even go about setting up against a team like that?
Yeah.
Never mind a PSG team.
To be honest, Seko Fofana.
Oh yeah.
When he was at Lens, the year they played Champions League, he was unbelievable.
Did he not get players? He might have got something like that, but I remember that season. And I think he went to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
But he was incredible that season.
He left the year that we got there.
Yeah. Oh,
unbelievable player. Yeah. Unbelievable. Him and Adrien Rabiot.
Yeah.
The year before in Marseille. Wow.
Yeah.
Just like, he killed us. He came with Marseille to Lens and he absolutely killed us. Yeah. And it's like, you can set up and try and control as much as you want. His talent was just like unbelievable. And obviously, you look, I'm missing Kylian Mbappé because the second season he came to Reims, scored a hat-trick. He did nothing all game, scored a hat-trick. And then you kind of think, well,
Mbappé, it's fair enough, yeah.
But it's still now, I think Ligue 1 is underrated, and kind of a lot of people look at it as that's just France and whatever. It's not. It's brilliant.
I think, I'm a massive fan of Ligue 1, and obviously we've got access to like the running data and the sprint data, and it's like up there with like one of the most physical leagues. It's just behind the Premier League in terms of the physicality. But if you look at sort of the talent hub that it produces year on year, it's ridiculous. I mean, look at Turkey now.
But you look at the French national team.
I know.
Even the youth teams. It's like,
I think there was a graphic going about the other day, and I think it was like the 7 forwards or 8 forwards France could take to the World Cup, and it's like
That's ridiculous.
It's like wow.
It's ridiculous.
There's some players who are missing out. Like I think Ekitike has now come out, and I think one of the ones who are going to go back in is like Mateta potentially, and it's like it's a guy who's just scored 20 goals Premier League last season or something. It's ridiculous. But I just think in terms of the talent hub that it produces year on year, it's an incredibly underrated league, isn't it? And
it's
brilliant. I can't imagine the amount of young players you've seen and gone.
Yeah. No, there are a load. And it's because Malagusto is now at Chelsea. He was in Lyon a few years ago, Ryan Cherky.
Doku.
You just see all of them go through and it's like, even Khusanov. It's like, And it still has this kind of half reputation of being, the Farmers League or whatever.
That's just...
And it's like, no, it's actually really good. Like, trust me, it's really good.
Obviously, going from Ligue 1 to Championship, again, another cultural difference potentially. Shift. Massive one again.
I tell you, the one thing that I think I struggled with was the language. And I know this sounds stupid because you listen to me now and I'm fluent in English.
Yeah.
And you are to probably to other people I am English. I'm not though.
Well, you can tell when you go into the other languages that you are completely pure in that language.
Yeah.
You can tell.
And the thing is I was brought up at home in English. We spoke English at home. But the English language that we used is very kind of family based, and I've never been in a situation where I've had to, talk to the press or where I've had to talk to a group of young men, just because I've never been exposed to that. So it was my first experience, and I almost felt like a foreigner.
Yeah.
Walking into that environment.
Yeah.
Didn't bring any members of staff with me. I had, Paul Trollope and Ads Lalana, who were brilliant when I was there. But I was building a relationship with them. I was building a relationship with the players, and I was building a relationship with the board. And there is just such a massive difference culturally in the style of football, the way a team is managed, the way the players behave, the way training is set up, that it was, I was kind of in a accelerated sort of top-up course of
like a crash course.
Yeah,
of
this is English.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I just ran out of time.
Yeah.
And I'm delighted that they are where they are because the club deserves to go back up and supporters, deserves to go back up and whatever. But I'll always have this kind of part of regret. It was like, I didn't get it right, and run out of time.
Was the media, you just mentioned there, the media, in terms of the amount of media duties you have in France, is it literally not really anything, or is it that big in terms of going from Championship?
It's not really a question of the amount of it. It's what image I'm going to send out to the outside world.
Yeah.
Because over here in England, I came across as a nice guy.
Yeah.
And I think Johannes even says it in the interview after I got sacked. He said, "Will was a great guy," and I'm like, okay, maybe I was too nice, but my personality hasn't changed from when I was in France. And in France, I was considered someone that was very honest, very kind of to the point, didn't mess around with anything. Yet you've got two different countries and two almost polar opposite descriptions of my person or my personality, and I'm thinking,
bizarre.
This is weird.
Yeah.
Like how's I don't get how that's happened. And now with reflection, it's the language that I used, my body language, what I said to the press when I said it, how the fans have then interpreted it. But great learning curve for me, great experience as such. I guess bitterly disappointed that it didn't work the way I wanted it to work.
Joe, when it starts going wrong at Southampton and there's some other patches maybe elsewhere, is that when the football manager stuff really started to do your head in a little bit? Oh no, it done my head in years before that. Yeah. Like when I was in France, I kept getting the question of football manager.
It's just.
Don't get me wrong, we've been sponsored by them. I play.
I love Football Manager.
I love them, but it almost felt like the way it was rammed, and you were just like, I'm trying to coach. Like, I'm not.
It's just part of the story. I think it's part of, because ultimately people spoke about it, so it was good publicity back in the day, and then I was just kind of described as this geek that had grown up and played on Football Manager. I stopped playing Football Manager when I was like 17, 18. But that's the story that was sold. That was the story that worked almost in the press. And sadly, the world that we live in today, social media and people's opinions has become so important.
Yeah.
Even if they know nothing about you or nothing about my coaching philosophy or whatever. It's the perception to the outside world that kind of takes over everything, and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
You can't change it. You can't try and fight it. So you just kind of have to place it in a corner and accept that it's there. Is it easy? No, not at all. It's one of the worst things to experience. But all you control is the football team that you're doing, what you're coaching, the trainings, your staff, etc. So that's what I try to focus on. And there are, I can think of a load of reasons that it didn't work out. Our playing squad was massive. And we had to kind of skim through that. And they've finally got to a place where, they've got the squad that they needed and want. There was, stuff that had gone on in the Premier League, stuff that had gone on in the Championship the year before that, and everyone was not quite in sync. And there were so many different parts of the club that weren't quite in sync yet.
Yeah.
And I think, that was the conversation that we'd had with Johannes, because Johannes had kind of just come in with me. And it was like, okay, this is going to take a bit of time for us to get this right. And ultimately, they have got it right. They've had the results that they wanted. And that's life. Football moves on.
And I think it's really hard, obviously, to touch on. It's like, did you never get like, was there any point at Southampton where you were literally like I could do this, but then the modern way of football is you just don't get the time, like, ever?
There were things that I did that were wrong, and I made mistakes. I'll hold my hands up every day to that. But I also knew that there was, so many things that we had to get through in order to kind of get it right. And there were a few really good performances in that, because we went away to even the League Cup. Like, we played Liverpool away. We played really well in that game.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I remember watching that game. Yeah.
And hit the post, hit the crossbar, made a mistake, got unlucky and lost.
Was it Wrexham away first game, 2-1?
That was at home.
It was at home.
Yeah.
I remember, yeah.
And Swansea at home played well. It just when you wanted it to click and when you wanted it to fall into place, it never quite fell into place. Same again. We play, and this was a game where I kind of thought, okay, we're going to hit the ground running now. Sheffield United away, Tuesday evening or Wednesday evening, midweek. We win 2-1. Ross Stewart's back in the team. He'd been out injured for ages, and everyone was like, "Oh, you can't play Roscoe. He's going to get injured." It's like, no, we need to build a bit of consistency and build a bit of momentum going forward. So beat Sheffield United 2-1, and then go away to Derby on the Saturday. Draw 1-1. Ross gets injured, and there was just every single time we thought we were building a bit of momentum, there was an injury or there was something that happened. Flynn Downs, he was in the starting lineup, and he's struggled with illnesses in the past. He's fine now, and I'm delighted for him. And Flynn, I really wanted Flynn to be an important player for us.
He's the number 6, isn't he? He's the builder. Yeah.
And it was, it just never quite fell into place. And I should probably have used Jack Stevens in a different way. should have used, a load of players in a different way. But there was so many players that it was kind of, you just kind of got overloaded by the number of things that we had to do, and it takes a bit of time to kind of settle down and put into place. And like you said, it's just football. They, made a decision that they had to make, and it's worked out because they're back where they are now.
Yeah, I wanted to move on into like just some additional questions that I've always wanted to ask, especially a modern manager, about just in general when it comes to football. And I think one of the things that's always really interesting to me is the managers who have failed upwards in terms of the philosophy they have. Now, I'm not using Vincent Kompany as the example because he's proven to be an amazing manager. I've always found it really interesting, managers who play a certain way at a club that can play that way with the players, but they project that they can coach that, and then they go on to do a better thing at a bigger club. Mm. When we're talking about you throughout your career, and we're talking about you have adapted to certain, turbulences, whether or not it's player sales, injuries, stuff like that, would you ever think about doing that in terms of producing a style of football even without the players there, to show that potentially an elite club could benefit off you showing that?
I think whatever the team or whatever the group of players that I've got, I don't think, and I know a lot of focus is placed on that these days. The system isn't actually that important. Mm. The style and the identity. I want to press. I want to play vertical football. I want to do certain things. But if I'll go back to Southampton. I wanted to press, but there's nothing to press in the Championship. Because you talk about a goal kick, you talk about, what areas of the pitch we're going to, try and win the ball back. The Championship, the ball just goes long. So you've then got to be ready to win a second ball. That's a whole different ball game to the pressing game that we want to play. I wanted to play vertical football and, attract people with runs. But the team was used to playing the Russell Martin football where
bringing it out, slow
into midfield, bop it through. And I got to the stage, it was like, okay, we're not playing to the midfield in the first phase. Mm. That's extreme, and I didn't want that to happen. But it was like, okay, if we're playing to the midfield, this is what has to happen.
Yeah.
But again, it just takes time to kind of get out of that routine and whatever. But I say play vertical football. You can't play vertical football because there's no space to run into or play into.
Yeah.
So it's then, falling back on other things. How do you play against a low block? How do you attack against a low block? How do you adapt to that kind of long ball, second ball, third ball, fourth ball in some situations? And I do believe that, on the long term, the way that I like to play football does work and will work.
Well, it's proven to work.
Yeah. And that's why my hunger is now so kind of high to get back into something, whatever that is and wherever it is.
Yeah.
And kind of, prove a point of, okay, it didn't work out the way I wanted to work out in Southampton. But I'll stand back up and try my best to make it work somewhere else. Because I still believe in myself. I still believe in the football that I want to play. I've learned an awful lot about football, but also about myself in the last 6 months that I've been off. Because I'm not the same person that I am today than I was, 4 years ago when I was in France. And I just want to, keep building and keep moving forward. I'm not proud of Southampton because I wanted it to work, but I don't want it to let it define me either. I won't let it define me either. So it's just moving on, getting back up and proving that the football that I want to play and can play does work and will work somewhere else.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the sort of social life that we live in and the world the way it is today.
You said you've not really done much over the last 6 months in terms of, obviously, football management. Have you been watching a lot of football?
So the first The first sort of 3 weeks to a month, couldn't watch it.
Yeah.
Hated it. Absolutely hated it. Didn't want to watch it. Didn't want to talk about it. Didn't want to. Just nothing. Just leave me alone. And job offers came up in that kind of month, straight after Southampton. And I had to sit down with my family and my agents, and it was like, after what happened last year, you kind of just stop. Like, you need a break. Just go away, go and do something. You need to stop. I was kind of like, do I really want to stop? I'm only 33. I'm fine.
Yeah, not literally stop.
Yeah, and it's like, you start saying no to clubs and you start saying no to people, and you kind of think it's a bit uncomfortable. But to be fair, I think the last 6 months have been probably the most helpful in my whole career.
Yeah. Because
you have time to kind of take a step back, look at what works, what doesn't work, the mistakes that I've made, etc., etc. And for the last sort of 4.5 to 5 months, I've watched
everything,
so much football. Yeah. I've commentated on the Champions League, which I've been really lucky to do with the Belgian TV. And worked on myself as well. Like, how do I go from being the nice guy to just a normal manager? How do I go from being the half English, half Belgian, half French guy that does actually work? And how do I be more kind of ruthless when the time comes to be ruthless? So all these things that you kind of don't have time to do when you're in a job, because you're in that kind of washing machine of things that go on and things happen. But yeah, I've watched probably more football than I've ever watched over the last X number of months, whether that's on TV or live or whatever.
Yeah, so I think young manager, one of the youngest in Europe. I think I always look and go, when you watch football, especially when you're not obviously in charge of a football club, are there any trends in the last 5 months that you've picked up on that you go, I actually think that could be the next thing?
100%.
Yeah.
But football's almost going, there's backwards. A cycle, it's going backwards.
Yes. Yeah.
Even Pep's team, there's not all this, there's still a lot going on, but remember the kind of inverted fullback role and all of this?
Fabian Del first to do it.
And there's kind of this, football is always a cycle, and there's this kind of new cycle coming now, where the fashion last year or even 2 years ago was everyone attacks 3-4-3.
Yeah.
You need 2 players in the pockets, 2 midfielders, base of 3, 2 players outside, or 1 player on each side. And that's actually changed now, because now you've got 2 players on the outside, and now players, it's more of a 2+2, and it constantly changes and evolves. And I think the beautiful thing with football is it's not an exact science.
No, there's not like a solution to everything.
No. And a thing that you do with one group of players won't systematically work with another group of players in another, context or club. So it's being kind of open-minded enough, and that's what I'm, trying to force myself to do, is how can I be open-minded enough for whatever comes next to get it right, and what is it going to take? But I think trends are kind of shifting and evolving and almost coming back.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of long ball from kick-off now, especially even if they're setting up to play and they're going. I think you were saying there, now it's more of a 2 and a 2.
Yeah.
Rossini, I've seen him use a lot of 2-2 and a 6.
Yeah.
And then I think personally for me, teams are trying to attack the middle, like through the middle a lot more now. I think like a lot of times the ball goes down the wide areas, it's going to a fullback who can't take on a man, or just someone in an unnatural position. But yeah, I think it's really interesting always discussing like trends. And I think this trend is more, do you agree that the game is just going to like a physical first game? Like, do you believe there's actually a loss of technical
I think
players? Or do you know what I mean?
You need to just look at the stats. I think there's so much impetus and importance given to that kind of physical element of, you need to be able to run, this far at this intensity. You need to be able to sprint. You need to be able to do this. You need to be able to do that. It's like, hang on, his first touch needs to be good as well.
Yeah.
And he needs to be able to scan, and he needs to be able to see what's going on around him. But that's, for the moment, that's the way football's going. But it will be a cycle, I think, again, where, you look. I always take the World Cups as an example. You always look at the World Cups and what the teams are doing. To me, the best World Cup was won in Qatar.
In terms of quality.
In terms of quality, in terms of quality of football played. One, because the players were fresh, because it was in the middle of the season and it's not the end of the season. But also the style of play was just, you were just at the right balance between that kind of technical side of the game and this kind of physical wave of stuff coming in. But no, I do agree. I don't like how kind of, I don't know if this is a word, robotized players have become.
Yeah. In terms of like mechanical.
Yeah.
It's a very automatic game, a very textbook.
Like structured and it's like, hang on, we need to give the players a bit of freedom again, and you need to give players a bit of understanding of what they're actually doing. The problem is with the generation that's coming through is that you've taken it all away from them.
Yeah. Well, the academies now.
You've got to do this, this, and this, and this. It's like, whoa, hang on.
Well, a game model now, which is basically obviously coached throughout the entire of your youth career. And I think that's very true. And I think when people look at, we've already mentioned him once this podcast, but I think when people look at Cherky, they almost see him as the complete opposite of the way the game's going.
But because of the personality that he has as well.
Yeah.
He's quite a strong
arrogant,
personality, almost arrogant.
Yeah, in a good way.
And we need a bit more of that again, to not fall into this extreme kind of rough physical battle that it doesn't actually have to be. I do believe there is this trend for the moment, but it always evolves and it always changes. And I'm really curious to see what this World Cup is going to look like.
Yeah, I think it is going to be quite interesting. In the 6 months, who's the best team you've watched?
Yeah, there are a lot.
Yeah.
There are an awful lot of teams. I think Brentford.
Oh, really?
Pragmatic. He's not tried to revolutionise football.
He's 1000% the manager of the season. The amount of people who picked them to go down.
Oh, everyone was saying Brentford were going down. Yeah.
Currently at the time of recording, they're battling for European football. It's absolutely insane.
But it's just pragmatic. He's not tried to invent something that doesn't need to be invented. He's just been really pragmatic, really down to earth, and got it right.
Yeah.
But then I still watch PSG now, and it's the same PSG as what they were doing last year. It is impossible to defend.
Yeah.
There is so much movement. There is so much link-up play and rotations and runs that you've got to be so prepared and so ready to play that game. But I went to I commentated on the Munich Real Madrid game last week.
Incredible.
Like the level of football. And it was one of those games that went away from that physical kind of stereotype.
It's more like end to end. And it was like more. Everyone giving the ball away a bit more. In fact, actually.
And it was like, this is the kind of football that I actually.
Yeah. This
is what we want a bit.
That's what I want to watch. When I watch a game, I'm like, I want to see red versus blue, end to end, bang. Yeah. And that gets you best out your individuals. Because I think a lot of the time now you watch individuals and people talk about like football falling off.
Yeah. I
just think they've got less space.
Yeah.
They get behind the ball quicker, so they can't get in between you.
Yeah.
So when the game is more end to end, you see like Elise's goal in the second leg where he's
brilliant,
curved it in off the post. You see Dembele striking one from the edge of the box against Liverpool, and I think that's what you miss. I don't think there's a lack of quality. I think the teams are naturally just more accustomed to defending better. No, that was absolutely brilliant. I think it's a good way to wrap it up, and one of the best conversations I've had with football, so I'm a football person. But yeah, thank you very much, Will. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, mate.
Top man.